In the bustling streets of Chicago, where winter winds sweep through the towering skyscrapers, an elderly woman makes her way through the morning crowd, her weathered hands clutching a worn leather bag. Her name is Margaret Thompson, though the children she once cared for decades ago simply called her Maggie. At 85, she still works as a housekeeper in one of the city's affluent neighborhoods, her spirit unwavering despite the weight of years. The year is 2023, and while most people her age have long since retired, Maggie continues her daily routine with the same dedication that defined her entire life. Her arthritis might slow her steps, but it hasn't diminished her determination. Each morning, she takes 2 buses and walks 3 blocks to reach the homes she tends to, carrying cleaning supplies in her bag and a lifetime of memories in her heart. Few people know that this humble woman once held one of the most precious responsibilities imaginable, caring for a young boy who would become a global icon. But Maggie never spoke about those days, never sought attention or recognition. For her, it was simply another chapter in a life dedicated to caring for others. On this particular morning, as she makes her way to her first client's home, she passes a massive billboard featuring the very child she once rocked to sleep. Michael Jordan's face towers above the city streets, his legendary smile still as magnetic as ever. Maggie allows herself a small smile, remembering the little boy who couldn't sleep without his favorite blanket, who would beg for 5 more minutes of playtime before bed. The memories flood back as she continues her journey, the countless meals she prepared, the scraped knees she bandaged, the basketball games she watched from the sidelines. She remembers how young Michael would insist on helping her with the chores, even at age 5, his competitive spirit already evident in the way he'd race to finish his tasks. But life moved on as it always does. The years flew by, and that little boy grew up to become Air Jordan, while Maggie continued her work, taking care of other families, other children. She never expected their paths to cross again, never sought out any connection to her former charge. Her pride in his success was private, kept close to her heart like a treasured photograph. The morning progresses like any other, with Maggie methodically working through her tasks in her client's home. Her movements are slower now, but her attention to detail remains sharp. She takes pride in her work, just as she always has. The radio plays softly in the background, and occasionally she catches mentions of Michael Jordan's latest business ventures or charitable works. What Maggie doesn't know is that fate has been quietly orchestrating a reunion decades in the making. As she dusts the mantelpiece in her client's living room, she's unaware that across town, a chance conversation is about to change everything. A friend of a friend mentions an elderly housekeeper to one of Jordan's associates, and a familiar name catches their attention. The sun begins to set on Chicago, casting long shadows through the windows of the homes Maggie tends to. Her day is drawing to a close, her hands tired but her work impeccable as always. She gathers her supplies, says goodbye to her client, and steps out into the evening air, unaware that tomorrow will be anything but ordinary. As she waits at the bus stop, a sleek black car glides past, and for a brief moment, Maggie catches a glimpse of a familiar silhouette inside. Her heart skips a beat, but she dismisses it as imagination. After all, she often sees echoes of the past in her daily life, little reminders of the children she once cared for. But sometimes, the most extraordinary stories begin in the most ordinary moments. And sometimes, the people we think have forgotten us have actually been carrying us in their hearts all along. As Maggie boards her bus home, the wheels of destiny are already in motion, set to bring together 2 souls separated by time, fame, and circumstance. The Chicago skyline glitters in the distance as Maggie makes her way home, her thoughts drifting to tomorrow's tasks, unaware that she's about to be reminded that some bonds, no matter how old, never truly break. And sometimes, the greatest acts of kindness come from those who remember where they came from and the people who helped them get there. Those who know Maggie well often say she's the kind of person who gives without expecting anything in return. They say she's the sort who would rather light a candle for someone else than curse the darkness. But what they don't know is that one of her candles, lit decades ago, has been burning bright all this time, in the heart of a boy who grew up to become a legend. As night falls over Chicago, 2 lives, seemingly worlds apart, are about to intersect once again. And when they do, it will remind us all that sometimes the most powerful stories of kindness and gratitude come from the most unexpected places, even from the heights of stardom to the quiet dignity of an 85-year-old nanny who never stopped caring. The next morning dawns over Chicago with a gentle warmth that belies the significance of the day ahead. In Michael Jordan's expansive office, high above the city streets, the basketball legend sits at his desk, a worn photograph spread before him. The image, yellowed with age, shows a much younger version of himself, maybe 5 or 6 years old, beaming at the camera while a woman in her 40s holds him close. The happiness in both their faces is unmistakable, captured in a moment of pure joy that time hasn't diminished. For Michael, the discovery of this photograph in an old family album had triggered an avalanche of memories. He remembers the smell of fresh-baked cookies that would greet him after school, the gentle hands that would tend to his scrapes and bruises, and the unwavering support that helped shape his early years. Maggie Thompson wasn't just a nanny, she was a cornerstone of his childhood, a presence as constant and nurturing as the sun. The basketball icon leans back in his chair, his mind drifting through the corridors of time. He recalls the countless hours Maggie spent helping him with homework, her patience never wearing thin even when mathematics proved particularly challenging. She would create games to make learning fun, turning multiplication tables into basketball shooting contests in the backyard. Every problem has a solution, she would say, just like every game has a winning strategy. But what weighs heavily on Michael's heart today is the realization that while he soared to unprecedented heights of fame and success, Maggie continued her life of service, never seeking recognition or reward for the role she played in his journey. The thought that she's still working at 85, still taking buses across Chicago to clean houses, stirs something deep within him, a mixture of admiration, gratitude, and a gentle ache of responsibility. His assistant enters the office with a detailed report about Maggie's current life. The information paints a picture of quiet dignity. She lives in a modest apartment on the South Side, works 6 days a week despite her age, and is beloved by her current employers for her unwavering dedication and warm spirit. She's never married, having dedicated her life to caring for other people's children, watching them grow and succeed while she continued her humble path. Michael stands and walks to the window, looking out over the city he once ruled on the basketball court. Success has given him everything he could have dreamed of, but it's also taught him the true value of the people who believed in him before the world did. Maggie was there during the foundation years, helping to instill the values of hard work, perseverance, and kindness that would later become hallmarks of his character both on and off the court. He remembers one particular evening when, after a disappointing loss in a junior league game, Maggie sat with him on the front porch. While his parents focused on analyzing the game, she simply listened as he poured out his frustrations. Then she told him something he's never forgotten. Sometimes the biggest victories come after the hardest losses, because that's when we learn who we truly are. The report on his desk includes Maggie's current schedule, and Michael notices she's working today at a house just a few blocks from his office. The coincidence feels like more than chance. It feels like an opportunity to right a long-standing oversight. He's given millions to charity, established foundations, and helped countless people, but here is someone who helped shape his early years, still working well into her 80s. As he contemplates how to approach this reunion, Michael reflects on the lessons Maggie taught him about humility and grace. She always emphasized that true greatness lies not in what you achieve, but in how you treat others along the way. Even during his highest moments of NBA success, he could hear her voice reminding him to stay grounded, to remember where he came from. The morning progresses, and Michael begins to formulate a plan. It needs to be personal, respectful of Maggie's dignity, and mindful of her independent spirit. He remembers how she always taught him that the greatest gifts come from the heart, not the wallet. This reunion needs to reflect that wisdom. It needs to be about recognition, gratitude, and the kind of care she showed him all those years ago. His security team provides more details about her daily routine, the early morning bus she takes, the corner store where she buys her lunch, the careful way she manages her modest income to make ends meet. Each detail adds to the portrait of a woman who has lived her life with quiet grace, expecting nothing in return for the love she's given to so many. As lunch hour approaches, Michael makes a decision. He won't send an assistant or make a grand gesture that might overwhelm her. No, this needs to be personal, face-to-face, a chance to look into the eyes of the woman who helped mold him during those crucial early years. He picks up his phone and begins making arrangements, ensuring that everything will be handled with the utmost discretion and respect. The city continues its daily rhythm outside his window, thousands of people going about their lives, each carrying their own stories of triumph and struggle. Among them is an elderly nanny who never sought the spotlight, never asked for recognition, but whose influence helped shape one of basketball's greatest legends. And today, after decades of separation, their paths are about to cross again. Michael touches the old photograph one more time before slipping it into his jacket pocket. In all his years of achievement, all the championships and accolades, few things feel as important as what he's about to do. Because sometimes the greatest moments in life aren't about making history, they're about honoring the people who helped write your story. As the afternoon sun bathes Chicago in golden light, two lives that once were so closely intertwined are about to reconnect. And in this reunion lies a reminder that success isn't just measured in championships and acclaim, but in the ability to remember and honor those who helped pave the way. For Michael Jordan, this day isn't about being a basketball legend. It's about being the grateful child who never forgot the love and guidance of his devoted nanny. The stage is set for a meeting that will remind us all that behind every great success story are the quiet heroes who shaped the early chapters. And sometimes, the most meaningful victories aren't won on the basketball court, but in the moments when we have the chance to say thank you to those who believed in us before anyone else did. The afternoon sun casts long shadows through the windows of the Victorian-style home where Maggie is working. Her hands move methodically as she polishes the antique mirror in the hallway, unaware that her life is about to change. The house is quiet except for the gentle ticking of an old grandfather clock and the soft swish of her cleaning cloth against the glass. Outside, a black SUV pulls up quietly to the curb. Michael Jordan sits in the back seat, his heart beating with an unfamiliar nervousness. He's faced countless high-pressure situations on the basketball court, made game-winning shots with championships on the line, but this moment feels different. This isn't about proving himself. It's about acknowledging someone who helped make him who he is. As he steps out of the vehicle, memories wash over him. The smell of Maggie's homemade chicken soup when he was sick, the way she'd sing spirituals while folding laundry, her fierce pride when he brought home good grades. These weren't just moments in time. They were building blocks of character, laid carefully by hands that never sought recognition. Inside the house, Maggie pauses her work, thinking she heard a car door close. It's too early for her employer to return, but she continues her tasks, moving to dust the collection of family photographs on the living room wall. Each frame reminds her of the countless homes she's worked in, the families she's served, the children she's watched grow up, including one very special boy who became a legend. The doorbell rings, its chime echoing through the quiet house. Maggie straightens her apron, checks her appearance in the freshly polished mirror, and makes her way to the door. She's expecting no one, and her employer always uses a key. Her steps are careful, measured as they always have been. When she opens the door, time seems to stand still. The tall figure before her is immediately recognizable. Those same eyes that once looked up at her with childhood wonder now gaze down at her with profound respect. For a moment, neither speaks. The world holds its breath. "Miss Maggie," Michael says softly, his voice thick with emotion. "It's been a long time." Maggie's hand flies to her heart, her eyes widening in recognition and disbelief. The cleaning cloth she's holding drops forgotten to the floor. Before her stands not the global icon, not the basketball legend, but the little boy she once tucked into bed, the child who would beg for one more story, one more cookie, one more hug. "Little Michael," she whispers, her voice trembling. "Is it really you?" The next moment unfolds like a scene from a dream. Michael steps forward, enveloping his former nanny in a gentle embrace. Maggie's small frame feels even more delicate than he remembered, but her embrace is as warm and genuine as it was decades ago. The years between them melt away in that moment of connection. "I've been looking for you," Michael says as they part, both wiping tears from their eyes. When I found out you were still working, still taking care of others after all these years. Maggie straightens her shoulders, pride evident in her bearing despite her emotion. Work keeps me strong, she says, her voice steadying. And I've followed every step of your journey, my boy. Every game, every championship. Though you were always a champion in my eyes, long before any trophies. Michael guides her to sit down, taking a seat beside her on the foyer bench. From his jacket, he pulls out the old photograph he'd been looking at earlier. Maggie's hands shake slightly as she takes it, her eyes misting over at the captured moment from so long ago. You kept this, she asks, tracing the image with a weathered finger. My mother saved everything, Michael replies, watching her face. But the memories, those I kept myself. The lessons you taught me, Miss Maggie, they went far beyond that basketball hoop in the backyard. They begin to talk, years of unspoken words flowing between them. Maggie tells him about the children she's cared for since, how she's watched his career from afar, saving newspaper clippings and saying silent prayers before every important game. Michael shares stories of moments when her wisdom echoed in his mind, helping him make crucial decisions both on and off the court. As they talk, Michael observes the subtle signs of age and work in Maggie's appearance. The slight tremor in her hands, the careful way she moves, the wisdom etched in the lines of her face. Yet her spirit remains unchanged, her eyes still bright with the same love and determination he remembered from his childhood. Miss Maggie, he says finally, his voice taking on a serious tone. I can't change the past, can't make up for all the years that have gone by. But I can make sure your future is different. You've spent your life taking care of others. It's time someone took care of you. Maggie begins to protest, her independent spirit rising to the surface, but Michael continues gently. This isn't charity, Miss Maggie. This is gratitude. This is recognition for all the love you gave not just to me, but to every child you've cared for. You taught me that success means nothing if we don't use it to lift others up. He shares his plan with her, a retirement fund that would ensure she never has to work another day, a comfortable home in a safe neighborhood, and regular medical care to ease the aches that years of physical work have left behind. But more than that, he offers her a place in his life again, a chance to be part of his family's story once more. Tears flow freely now from both of them. Maggie reaches out to touch Michael's face, just as she did when he was a child coming to her with scraped knees or hurt feelings. You always had such a beautiful heart, she says softly. Fame didn't change that. That makes me prouder than any championship. The afternoon light shifts, casting warm patterns on the floor around them. Outside, the world continues its busy pace, unaware of the profound moment of healing and recognition taking place within these walls. In this quiet space, a circle is being completed, a debt of gratitude finally being acknowledged. You know, Maggie says, looking at the photograph again, I always told you that God has a plan for every life. Look how wonderfully his plan worked out for you. Michael takes her hand, his voice gentle but firm. His plan worked through you, Miss Maggie. Through your love, your guidance, your wisdom. And now it's my turn to be part of his plan for you. As the sun begins its descent over Chicago, casting the city in shades of gold and purple, two souls who once shared the simple bond of child and caregiver have forged a new connection. It's a reminder that sometimes the greatest acts of kindness are not random at all, but rather the careful repayment of debts of love that span decades. In this moment, Michael Jordan isn't thinking about his legacy on the basketball court. He's thinking about a different kind of legacy, one built on gratitude, recognition, and the understanding that true greatness lies in remembering and honoring those who helped shape our journey. 1 month after their emotional reunion, Maggie Thompson stands in the foyer of her new home, still amazed by the turn her life has taken. The house, a beautiful single-story residence in a peaceful Chicago suburb, is everything she never allowed herself to dream of. Large windows flood the rooms with natural light, and an easy-to-navigate layout ensures she can move comfortably as she ages. But it's the small touches that bring tears to her eyes, the vintage photographs Michael had carefully framed, spanning decades of their shared history. The transition from her life of constant work to one of comfortable retirement hasn't been easy for someone who has known nothing but service for 8 decades. Yet Michael understood this about her character, which is why he created a role for her that gives her purpose while ensuring she never has to clean another house again. She now serves as a special advisor to the James R. Jordan Foundation, sharing her wisdom with young caregivers and contributing to programs that support elderly workers in the community. In her new home office, a space she never imagined having, Maggie keeps a journal of the changes that have transformed her life. The medical treatments that have eased her arthritis, allowing her to garden again. The security of knowing her rent and utilities are paid for life. The joy of having time to actually sit and watch basketball games instead of catching glimpses while working. But most precious of all is the renewed connection with the child she helped raise, now a man who never forgot her influence. Michael's intervention in Maggie's life sparked a movement within the Chicago community. Other successful individuals began seeking out the caregivers and mentors who influenced their early years, creating a ripple effect of recognition and gratitude. Local news stations covered the story, not for its celebrity angle, but for its powerful message about acknowledging those who shape our lives from the shadows. On a warm Sunday afternoon, Maggie hosts her first family dinner in her new home. Michael arrives with his children, who listen wide-eyed as their father and his former nanny share stories from his childhood. The younger Jordans are particularly fascinated by tales of their father's early basketball days, when Maggie would set up makeshift hoops using laundry baskets and rolled-up socks. "Your daddy wasn't born Air Jordan," Maggie tells them, her eyes twinkling. "He had to learn to fly first. And sometimes, that meant falling down and getting back up again." She shares how young Michael would practice his shots for hours in the backyard, long after other children had gone inside. But what made him special wasn't just his dedication to basketball, it was his dedication to being a good person. Michael watches as his children hang on every word of Maggie's stories. He sees in their eyes the same respect and love he felt for her as a child. This, he realizes, is perhaps the greatest gift of their reunion, the chance for his own children to know the woman who helped shape their father's character. The foundation work keeps Maggie busier than she expected, but it's a different kind of busy from her cleaning days. She speaks at community centers, sharing her experiences and wisdom with young people. Her message is always the same: every job has dignity, every person has worth, and sometimes the smallest acts of kindness have the largest impact. One particular project becomes especially dear to her heart, a program that identifies elderly caregivers still working past retirement age and provides them with financial and medical support. Michael ensures that the program not only helps these individuals retire comfortably but also creates opportunities for them to continue contributing to their communities in less physically demanding ways. The media attention eventually fades, but the impact of Michael's gesture continues to grow. Other athletes and celebrities begin sharing stories of the caregivers who influenced their early years, leading to a national conversation about recognizing the often overlooked heroes in our lives. Maggie's story becomes a catalyst for change, inspiring others to look back and reach out to those who helped shape their success. In her quieter moments, sitting in her comfortable new living room, Maggie often reflects on the strange and wonderful path her life has taken. The walls of her home now display photographs spanning decades, images of her with other children she cared for, alongside newspaper clippings of Michael's achievements. But her favorite remains that first old photograph Michael brought to their reunion, now beautifully framed and hanging in a place of honor. The neighborhood children soon discover that the kind elderly lady in the corner house has an endless supply of cookies and basketball stories. They gather on her porch after school, just as Michael once did, listening to her gentle wisdom and life lessons. She teaches them the same values she instilled in young Michael: perseverance, humility, and the importance of treating everyone with dignity. Michael makes it a point to visit regularly, often bringing his family or simply stopping by for one of Maggie's famous home-cooked meals. During these visits, they sometimes sit on her new porch swing, reminiscing about the past and sharing hopes for the future. It's during one such evening that Maggie shares a profound observation. "You know, Michael," she says, her voice soft but clear, "sometimes God's greatest blessings come full circle. All those years I spent taking care of you, and now here you are, making sure I'm taken care of in my golden years." The impact of their reunion extends beyond their personal relationship. The James R. Jordan Foundation creates a scholarship program in Maggie's name, specifically designed to support young people pursuing careers in caregiving and early childhood education. The scholarship ensures that Maggie's legacy of nurturing and shaping young lives will continue for generations to come. As the story of Michael Jordan and his former nanny spreads, it serves as a powerful reminder that success is rarely achieved alone. Behind every great achievement are often quiet heroes who provided support, guidance, and love during formative years. Maggie's journey from working nanny to respected community elder becomes a testament to the importance of recognizing and honoring these unsung heroes. The transformation in Maggie's life proves that it's never too late for gratitude to change everything. Her story inspires others to look back on their own journeys and acknowledge those who helped them along the way. In corporate offices, community centers, and homes across the country, people begin reaching out to their own Miss Maggies, the teachers, caregivers, and mentors who shaped their early years. Today, at 85, Maggie Thompson no longer needs to take early morning buses or carry heavy cleaning supplies. Instead, she carries something far more valuable: the knowledge that her life's work of caring for others has been seen, recognized, and honored. Her story reminds us all that sometimes the greatest acts of kindness are not in the giving, but in the recognition of what has been given. As the sun sets over her new home, Maggie often thinks about the little boy who grew up to become a legend, and how their story proves that true greatness lies not just in achieving success, but in remembering and honoring those who helped us achieve it. In the end, Michael Jordan's greatest assist wasn't on the basketball court. It was in showing the world that it's never too late to say thank you to those who helped us soar.